This is the field of 68. I'm Vince Wolfram.
I'm JoJo Cavanagh in Auburn, Alabama. And this
is Straight Out the Jungle. Welcome back to Straight Out the Jungle. My name is Vince Wolfram.
I'm JoJo Cavanagh.
And yesterday, Auburn punched its ticket. Johni Broome refused to let anything stand in the way of leading his team to the Final Four. Not even an elbow or a leg injury. One-arm Broome is better than no Broome. Number one Auburn. It used a hot start and Johni Broome to defeat Michigan State 70-64 on Sunday night in the South Region Final, sending Auburn to the out of the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight to the Final Four for the first time since 2019. And we're both right on the floor in this one. Just crazy.
Absolutely unreal. In Atlanta, the jungle was so loud. Johni Broome was incredible. Both of us being courtside. I was behind the bench, so I kind of heard Bruce and Steven talking the whole time, heard the players talking to one another. It was just an incredible atmosphere, incredible win, incredible team win. We were both on the court, in the locker room with the players after, just as seniors, being as Auburn students, as media members, getting to see this team go to the Final Four, working so hard, all the ups and downs throughout the season. And the way we won, never letting Michigan State have a lead the entire second half, we're excited.
Yeah, it was mayhem in Atlanta last night, and like you said, we were in the locker rooms. We got to catch up with every player that played except one, and that's the guy we're going to talk to first. You can say he's a busy man, had some things going on yesterday. I think we have to start with the play of Johni Broome. First half, dominant. Just proved to the country why he is up for National Player of the Year. He had 17 points, and it felt like every single time he touched the basketball, good things were going to happen. Jackson Kohler, he's a good, smart defender for Michigan State. Mm-hmm. No answer for Johni Broome. For every minute I thought Johni played. I know he had a good game too. Kohler had 17 points, and it felt like he made the right decisions for Michigan State and really, really helped them try to will the Spartans to victory. But Johni Broome, just too much. And in the first half, he's what led Auburn. He had 17. The next closest was Miles with 7. They were putting themselves on the shoulders of number 4.
Yeah, he had a double-double at halftime, 17 points, 11 rebounds, and the offense was just through Johni Broome that entire first half, basically through the entire game. And you spoke about this before, that Michigan State, what their tallest player was, I think 6'6" or something. So them taking that advantage, and Johni Broome most definitely took advantage. And the fact that you just mentioned Kohler had 17 points the entire game, and Johni Broome had 17 points in the first half. So I feel like that describes this scenario perfectly, just him and Chaney taking advantage of that size difference, but just the offense was run through Johni Broome, and of course we have to talk about that injury where State Farm Arena went silent. It was like, you tweeted, I think 80% Auburn, 20% Michigan State. I feel like that was accurate. Loudness level was easily Auburn, 90, Michigan State 10. So the Auburn family showed out. Shout out to them. But you felt that energy go silent the minute Johni Broome was down, and it was nerve-wracking because it was extremely dramatic. You kind of saw him on the court for a while, him walking out. I mean, I was behind the bench and literally heard him say, like, I'm done. And, none of the team looked in panic. They kind of all knew it was up to them to step up, and we all talked to the team after and talked to them about what was that message and how they stepped up. But it was nerve-wracking. But let me tell you, him walking out, everyone was like, oh, wow, like he's going to go to the bench. He's out here. That's a great sign. I never expected him to go back in. Like, I knew that mentality that he had, but just watching that injury back, whether it was the elbow or the leg, looked scary. The fact that he went in, goes in, gets a one-arm rebound, and immediately after that makes that three, that I tweeted that was the dagger. That three right there, I knew Auburn won the game, and I was confident in saying that Auburn was going to the Final Four after he made that three.
Yeah, and there was a lot of time left, too. So a bold statement, but it did felt like that was the knife in the side of Michigan State. And that injury itself, I mean, I saw it clear as day from my side. I was on the opposite side of you. Kind of gross. It just looked like a hyperextension of too many parts of his body, whether it be his knee, his leg, his elbow. All of it just didn't look too great. And you could tell, like, it just bent in the wrong way. And we got no official word from Auburn staff on really his status, what happened. But like you said, as he was walking off the court, seams to mouth, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice he sort of pats Chaney Johnson on the chest and says, like, it's you. Like, go do your thing.
Which I thought was a very, very cool moment. I thought that showed leadership in Johni Broome, that he was putting that trust within Chaney Johnson.
Yeah, and I even thought from the point Johni got hurt, there was a fire lit under Auburn. And I think it started with Dylan Cardwell making game-changing plays with game-changing second-chance efforts, tipping the ball out, getting rebounds. So they made up for Johni's absence, and Chaney had a big piece of that as well. But like you said, the moment number 4 came out of the locker room, you could have put Many Men by 50 Cent on the screen and have him walk out. I mean, he had an athletic tape. He had the robot arm on. He full-on warriored it. And then when he came in and hit the three-pointer, I think I just tweeted, "This is mayhem." Because that's what it felt like. You want a great crowd pop. If you're somebody who eats up the crowd pops, listen to when he checks in, and then it kind of simmers down a little bit while he's talking to Stephen Pearl and the assistant coaches. And then you see this, and then you see him blow right past them. Crowd went crazy, and then the crowd got even crazier. I didn't even think that was possible.
Me neither.
When he checks into the game, gets that rebound, but when he hits that three, holy smokes. You could see his mom in the stands. She was flexing the muscle. And I even thought at the free throw line after that three-pointer, they do the classic clap, clap, AU chant. Johni doesn't. He's kind of stretching the other arm. And they hit a free throw, and he just hits a half AU. I mean, that's just a guy who came on the court in the miracle of Atlanta, as Bill Raftery called it, and just stepped up. And he stepped up. He made himself available. So Johni Broome, I think, MVP of the game easily, but the show itself was made by Johni Broome, too.
Yeah, and he won Most Outstanding Player of the South region. Just an incredible region for Johni Broome, but definitely this game proved why he was SEC Player of the Year. The offense was just run through him, rebounding. How many he had? 14 rebounds. Second chance points were led through him. And just honestly, that energy and that aura was through Johni Broome. And simply, it was one of the most iconic moments for Auburn basketball, was him coming back into that game and shooting that three, leading Auburn to a Final Four.
Yeah, definitely. And we kind of expected him to have a big game, like I talked about in the pregame, a little bit of the size difference. Ole Miss presented an interesting thing for Michigan State. They changed the lineup, put Cohen Carr, a 6'6" guy, in at power forward. I'm happy that they switched that back, or maybe Johni would have even gone for more than his 25. And they did. And I thought Jackson Kohler did a decent job of trying to stay in front of him, but you can only try with Johni Broome, because there's really, you can't fully stop him. You can just try to contain him. I thought Michigan State, with the size they did have, they pulled a couple guys in and made their rotation a little bit deeper, like Tom Izzo talked about in his pregame presser too. So they threw everything they could at Johni. Still didn't work.
Yeah, and I mean that one play where Johni Broome goes for that dunk on top of two Michigan State players' heads. That was another crowd pop. That if you like crowd pops, listen to that, because it was loud in there.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I just thought the energy of Johni was really, really infectious. And I think we can start with the other guys in the front court, because when Johni came out, guys stepped up. And I guess we can start with Chaney Johnson, because that's the guy I felt during that period of time early in the season when Johni Broome was out. Who was the guy that stepped up in his place?
Chaney Johnson, Georgia State, 26 points. Immediately my first thoughts.
Exactly. And right when he gets hurt, you think, all right, who's it going to be? Because, I mean, at this point, no one had a breakout game. There was guys that were helping. There was guys that were giving their all. There was guys that were locking down on defense, forcing Michigan State to take tough shots. But offensively, nobody had really taken the reins of the game like Johni had to that point. And they relied on him a good bit while he was in. He comes out, Chaney Johnson goes in and does Chaney Johnson things. Is exactly what Auburn needed in that moment. He was 2 of 5 in the second half for 6 points, but those 6 points came at a time where we were uncertain about what the future would be with Johni. Would he come back in the game? Is he dead? We don't know. We don't know what his deal is. But Chaney Johnson, I thought, stepped up, got a couple rebounds, tipped out a couple rebounds to guys for threes, for guys to drive and attack the paint. I just thought his impact, he very much, in a simple way, replaced Johni Broome when Johni was out.
Yeah, and in that first half, I thought he took advantage of the size difference too. He had a couple jumpers that really went in. But my favorite play from Johni Johnson was when Johni Broome goes out, like I said, you felt that energy go down, not within the team, but within State Farm Arena from the Auburn fans, which is rightfully so. It was a scary injury. It didn't look great. But Johni Johnson, it was the first points after Johni Broome goes out. It wasn't like it was a layup. It wasn't like it was a Johni Johnson dunk, and State Farm Arena was loud. And that was that energy boost that the fans needed, because the fans were a huge part of why Auburn won this game. Like I said, it was home court advantage, basically. So Johni Johnson, after Johni Broome comes out, having that dunk was huge. And it was a momentum boost for him, and it was a momentum boost just for the crowd, for the team. It was awesome.
Yeah, we think Neville Arena is a nice home court advantage. You guys should have heard State Farm Arena last night.
Yeah.
During the tough parts, in the parts where Michigan State tried to make a little run to come back, and Auburn combated it. Whew, that place was like it was set on fire. But we caught up with Johni Johnson after the game on the floor. His immediate reaction is right here. Johni Johnson.
What's good?
You're headed to the Final Four. What's going through your mind?
All glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I say this all the time because it's the truth. Without him, I would be nowhere, and I wouldn't have this opportunity I have. This team would have made it this far without him. And as long as we continue putting him first, we got to be okay with the circumstances.
Johni Broome goes down in the second half. He's walking off the floor. Sort of walk me through that moment for you, a guy that has to come in and make plays in his absence. What happened in that moment right there?
I mean, you know, my heart dropped because, I mean, Johni is a great player, and, I mean, he done helped us out so much this year and was having a heck of a game. So, you know, when he went down, I didn't see what happened, but I saw him grabbing that shoulder, so I'm like, yo, it can't be the same shoulder again. But he came to me and Dylan was like, finish this game for us. So, you know, even though we feel for him, we had to go finish the job. And, you know, all glory to God that he was able to come back. So, you know, we're going to need him big for the Final Four if we want to win the Natty. So just got to continue praying for him, and God going to heal him.
Feeling in your heart right now, what is it?
Man, you know, I never really cherish the moment, but tonight I'm going to live in the moment. I'm going to live in the moment tonight because, man, it's just a great feeling, man. South Regional champs. I think it's the second time in school history. It's great to be able to make history, to be a part of such a generational team.
What are you most looking forward to in the city of San Antonio, Johni?
I've never been to San Antonio. My first time going to Texas was when we went to Houston, and then we went to play Texas at Texas. So, you know, I love Texas. You know, everything bigger at Texas, and we're going to elevate our play to play bigger at Texas. So, you know, I'm just grateful to be able to travel with my guys again, grateful to have another opportunity. Yo, I'm doing an interview, Dylan. You know, grateful to have another opportunity to play another game, and, you know, we got 2 more games.
2 more games, and hopefully you elevate the trophy case. Johni, congratulations. Johni wanting to expand the trophy case. He knows they've got 2 more wins, and I know they've got plenty more guys that want that same thing. I think the main one being his front court buddy in yesterday's game, that being Dylan Cardwell, the 5th-year senior, has just waited for this moment. He's still at Auburn, which if you look back on it, he doesn't have to be. He could be playing somewhere else. Like Bruce talked about in his press conference, he said, I don't promise a lot of things, but I promised Dylan that he would start every game this season, and that's what brought Dylan Cardwell back. He wants to make his own history. Let's listen to what Dylan had to tell us after the game last night. Dylan Cardwell, you're going to the Final Four for the first time since 2019. How do you feel?
Yeah, you know, first and foremost, all glory to God. I mean, it just feels unreal. It feels unreal. You know, for me, just immense gratitude and thankfulness to the Lord, obviously. But, you know, heading into this season, I just got tired of hearing about the 2019 team, you know. Every single thing about Auburn is 2019. You know, the password to the locker room is 2019. The password to the Wi-Fi is 2019. We have a 2019 banner outside of our arena that says Final Four 2019. And for me, I'm grateful for the 2019 team. I'm grateful for that group of guys. We wouldn't be here without them. Auburn wouldn't be Auburn without them guys. They're the cornerstone group. They're the cornerstone team of this university, of this program. But I wanted to make my own history. You know, being here for 5 years and not having anything to kind of hang up that was worth anything to differentiate myself, it meant the world to me to finally etch myself in not just Auburn history, but college sports history.
Going into this offseason, you had the chance to go somewhere or stay at Auburn, and Bruce Pearl offered you the promise that he would start you every single game alongside Johni Broome. Looking back at that moment, how much has changed?
Not a thing. You know, BP's a man of his word. He stands on business. Best coach in the country.
What would you tell that guy?
That's what I tell Dylan. I mean, shoot, keep trusting the Lord. That's all. That's all it boils down to, is trusting the Lord. The Lord won't fail me regardless of what any man says. I put my faith in God and put my faith in Jesus, and he's been faithful to me. So
Johni goes out in the second half. Everybody's kind of questioning.
Chaney Johnson was scared of his mind. For me, another day in the office. We won at South Carolina without him. We've played without Johni. And so for me, I had 7 minutes left in my college career, potentially. And I said, I'm not going to let any man going down stop me from that. I didn't even give it a second thought. I said, I just got to fight. I got to fight my tail off, and that's what we did. We fought.
What are you looking forward to most in San Antonio, and what do you feel heading there?
The Auburn faithful traveling. That's all. I'm grateful, and I'm excited for the Auburn faithful to be there.
Dylan Cardwell has one more hotel breakfast opportunity.
Yes, sir, I do. God bless.
Free breakfast. Dylan Cardwell is going to the Final Four. Yes, sir. I thought the defining moment yesterday for Dylan didn't come from the paint. It didn't come from the block. It didn't come from a block. It came from the charity stripe, the free throw line. Dylan has been struggling from the line. He said it's been a tough season for him in that sense. Mentally, obviously the free throw line is completely a mental game, as well as just being able to knock down his free throws and physically being able to do it. He got to the line yesterday, hadn't made a free throw yet, and he sinks that free throw, and you hear the AU, and you look up, and there's like the Michigan State patch of fans doesn't have their hands up, obviously, because it's in their pockets ready to take their ticket and walk out the door. But the Auburn faithful, every hand I saw was in the air. It was the coolest fan moment, I thought, of the day, just because you can tell they're all like, oh, thank goodness. And Dylan just puts his hands to the sky, calls God, and says thank you. I thought that was the coolest moment for Dylan, in addition to, like I mentioned earlier, his game-changing moments, the moments where maybe it's not on the stat sheet, but it makes a huge difference in a play that may make a huge difference in the game.
Yeah, I thought he stepped up, providing energy. Every time he went off the bench, he literally looked to the crowd and did his usual, bringing that liveliness to the crowd. But just also, I thought, rebounding, he had 6 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, 3 defensive rebounds. It kind of felt like every time he was under the basket, he was the one that was kind of getting it, tipping it out, which led to more second chance points, which led to more shot opportunities, which was huge. And just, I think him providing that energy, I think him providing that stability when Johni Broome comes out, I think he was able to kind of provide that with him and Chaney Johnson. And just overall, I think everyone is so happy for Dylan Cardwell. After 5 years at this program, finally him sticking around, being a true Auburn man, and just getting to that Final Four is just everything I think an Auburn fan wanted for basically the guy who was known as the Auburn man himself, the epitome of what it is to be an Auburn man. So for him to reach that epitome of his career now, go to San Antonio, it was huge.
Just huge. And I love how he talked about in our sit down with him that he sees the banner outside of Neville Arena. He sees... he knows the password to the locker room is 2019.
Now all of America does, too.
Right, so they're going to have to change that maybe with another year. But you can tell how much it means to him, and he has so much respect. He's so fond of that 2019 team and what they did to culture shift this place. And sort of, like he said, make it the cornerstone, make it the stepping stone for future teams to try and chase this Final Four accomplishment. But he wants to make his own history, and that's cool. That's a Dylan Cardwell spin if I've ever heard it. A guy that wants to be not only known in Auburn history for his legacy, but in the history of college sports as well. Winningest player in Auburn, and there's another guy on the team that isn't too far behind him.
Yeah. 2 guys every Auburn fan has to be happy for is Dylan Cardwell and Chris Moore. 2 guys that have stuck through this program through thick and thin, 5 years through the transfer portal era, have seen the ups and downs of not only this team, but just Auburn basketball throughout 5 years. So I was able to catch up with Chris Moore on the floor after the game. Here's what he had to say.
All right, 5 years at Auburn, finally the Final Four. What are you feeling right now?
Man, it's kind of hard to describe what I'm feeling. I'm overwhelmed with all kind of emotions right now, man. It's just exciting, man. It shows all the sacrifice that we made it and at the beginning of the season to get to this point.
How proud are you of this team?
Man, I'm ultra proud of this team, man. It just shows that, we're one team that came together, man. A bunch of old dudes that nobody really expected us to be that good. But, man, the kind of things that we did this season is amazing, man. I'm glad we continue doing this in March.
4 number 1 seeds, the Final Four. What are you most looking forward to for San Antonio?
Man, just showing that we ultimately the best team in the country, man. It's gonna be all the top dogs in San Antonio, so it's all about who's gonna come out the top dog.
My favorite part of that interview was him talking about how they were a bunch of old dudes that no one expected to be any good, which could not be more true. I mean, looking at this, everyone was comparing this roster to, I know, OKC and just how Auburn's roster was either older or younger, but was within the same age range. I mean, all these guys in the starting lineup are seniors and have been through JUCO, mid-majors, and Chaney Johnson coming from D2, a bunch of old dudes that no one expected to be any good. So for him to just kind of have this on his resume, helping, I think one of the biggest things for veteran Simo is he's a leader of this team. You see it all throughout. I mean, just sitting behind the bench that entire game, I heard Simo's voice every single time they were in a huddle, really saw his leadership in first person. And then just him talking about how they want to prove they're the best team in the country. You know, it's all the top dog. They talked about how 4 number 1 seeds for the first time since 2008, Duke, Houston, Auburn, and Florida. And Chris Moore just wants to prove that Auburn is the best team in the country. So just really happy for him that after 5 years, he's got that on his resume.
You talked about hearing him from the benches. I could hear him from the other side. So this is a leader that is very outspoken, vocally lifts his team up. And while he might not play the most minutes on the team, he's still absolutely one of the most valuable pieces. He comes in when they need it on defense, can get a bucket or two when he needed on offense. He hasn't needed to do that of late, which I guess is a good thing. But defensively, he stepped up when his number was called yesterday, and I thought that was a pretty good thing. And I love the old guy quote, too. But it doesn't get much older, and he would admit this, too, than Chad Baker-Mazara. He has been in a little bit of an offensive lull, and he knows that. He's working his way out of it. He told us after the Creighton game, or was it Creighton or was it Michigan? After the Michigan game, that he realized that he was in this kind of slump, this lull. But his teammates and his coaches trust him enough to, on defense, sort of help this team and be a positive factor maybe when his offense isn't going. And they also help him try to get back in that offensive flow. That entire narrative was on display yesterday. First half, no points for Chad Baker-Mazara. Second half, he got in the scoring column. He had 6 points. Didn't shoot it great on the day. He was 2 for 10, 2 for 8 from 3. But similar like a Miles Kelly, we saw him try to get going, and that was a good thing. And he realizes where he can help with this team, which might be a little bit different than, say, previous years where he goes out and just does Chad Baker-Mazara things. But we caught up with him after the game on the floor. A very gracious Chad Baker-Mazara. Check it out. Chad Baker-Mazara, you're going to the Final Four.
Yeah, I am.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Feels amazing, you know. Shut a lot of people's mouths that told me I couldn't do it, told us we couldn't do it. But at the same time, you know, job ain't done, so at the same time, you know, we're enjoying tonight, but then going back to the lab.
Got your whole family here to celebrate with you. How special is that?
It is special because, you know, last year my dad came to see me at Yale, and I got kicked out of that game, and that was probably one of the worst feelings I ever had in my life. And now having them being here is the complete opposite. I'm top of the world. No! Come on, gang.
I'm going to put it right back in there. Don't worry. You know me. I'm going to put it right back in there.
You. It's okay. That's my brother, though. He'll do it. He didn't know. I'm going to let it slide because he didn't know it was confetti. Appreciate you. Hey, the GOAT, man who recruited me here, GOAT. That's all.
You're not here without him. I'm so proud of him, and we ain't done yet, right?
No, we ain't done.
We ain't done.
Got 2 more. Dos más.
Dos más.
Dos más. That's my brother right there. That's my brother from another mother right there.
No doubt. And Johni goes down that second half. The bench, they had a look on their face. Guys on the floor had a look on their face. Sort of walk me through that moment for you guys as a team, knowing you had to step up.
We kind of all looked at each other and said, like, okay, you know, Johni went down. So now is, you know, we got to hold it down for him. And, you know, we took care of our offensively and defensively. And, you know, by the time he came back, I think it was still like the same 10-point lead. And when he came back, he said, okay, I'm good. I got y'all. Now let's finish it. He came in and did Johni Broome things.
First time Auburn's been in the Final Four since 2019. You guys are making history. How's that feel?
It feels great because, you know, started the season, a lot of people had a lot of doubt about us. Even after we won Maui, you know, a lot of people still talking down about us. Even after we had that little bad stretch during the end of the year, people were like, oh, yeah, that's the real Auburn. I guess it wasn't the real Auburn.
A cool piece that I like that Chad talked about there was the idea of being doubted, and you wouldn't expect it, right? I say Auburn's the #1 seed. They've killed teams all year. They had the most quad 1 wins in the country. Teams are bound to be scared of them, right? Like the media is bound to be making them out to be a great team, this tough team that nobody can stop. Wrong. They've had a lot of doubt. He talks about how they won Maui. They were doubted. They had that lull at the end of the season where they lost 3 of their last 4, and everybody and their mother talked about it.
That was the talk of the month. Yeah.
Exactly. They were doubted through that. He said they thought it wasn't the real Auburn. And then he looks at that banner and says, I guess this is the real Auburn, and just cracks up laughing. You can see the doubt and the anxiety from that doubt, and just that pressure is immense, and you could see it almost come off his shoulders. But I thought in the second half, in the absence of somebody that's pretty darn good, he stepped up in a major way.
Yeah, Johni Broome comes out, and like I said, you never felt within the team that they were nervous. They were ready to take full control, and Chad Baker-Mazara showed up. He hadn't had any points on the day so far. Johni Broome comes out. Chad Baker-Mazara, one of the first few plays, hits a 3, and immediately it's right in front of me. He looks at the Auburn. I was behind kind of the Auburn section. He looks at the Auburn section and goes, I got you. And I had like chills. I thought that was really cool because he hadn't had the best offensive game, really didn't have any points. Johni Broome comes out, he shoots a 3, and he looks at the Auburn family. He's like, I'm stepping up. I got you. And just for a guy that is constantly scrutinized in the media, I thought that was a true showing of his character, that he was stepping up for the Auburn family, and he made sure to vocalize it.
Yeah, he definitely did. Vocalizing is not something that he has any trouble with. I even noticed Dylan at the line. Every time it was a missed shot or a made shot, whether it was Dylan or anybody else, even Johni at the end when he missed a couple, every time it was Chad Baker-Mazara approaching the free throw shooter and saying like, hey, you got this, you're good, we got you. That kind of, that almost fulfillment of you miss it, you make it, doesn't matter. We're going to still put ourselves in a chance and present the opportunity to hold off Michigan State and try to win this game. I thought a mix of Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, and Chad Baker-Mazara did fantastic guarding the guards of Michigan State. And this is a team whose guards are their team. Like, that is who they are primarily led by. You look at the box score itself. Jackson Kohler was the leading scorer with 17. Atkins was second. He had 15, and Jace Richardson had 11. Jace Richardson went absolutely off against Ole Miss. He's had a great Big Ten conference play, and to see the way that those guys, the guards on Auburn, including Chad Baker-Mazara, because he can kind of go where he needs be. And with the foul trouble they had yesterday, he needed B. But the way that they were able to slow them down and force Jace Richardson to 4 of 13 shooting, and force Atkins to be 6 of 17 from the field, 0 for 10 for Trey Holloman. Like, it only got worse as you look sort of down the line here for the Michigan State guards. That was a doing of the Auburn guards and Chad Baker-Mazara. And I think he's right. Like, when his offense isn't working, what he presents is so valuable. I know we don't think of him as a great defender, but his length, his wingspan impacts people. And it certainly did with the Michigan State guards.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of that interview was Ira Bowman steps in and says, we're not here without this guy. And I thought that is super cool to have a coach step into an interview and just, first off, I think that's awesome and funny, but just to have him step up and say with the player, we're not here without this guy, how important of a piece Chad Baker-Mazara is. Because you look on the offensive side, he only had 6 points, but they were at crucial moments. He provides the energy. Charles Barkley said the most important thing Chad Baker-Mazara can do is not score, but provide energy. His defense, which is so underrated. So just to have a coach come in and say that. But another guy who, you mentioned Auburn's guard. Auburn is not in this position defensively, offensively, but especially defensively without Denver Jones. I mean, just the way Trey Holloman going 0 for 10, all of these guards not having their best game, their leading scorer being a big 17 points, which is not the identity of this Michigan State team. That doesn't happen without the defense of Denver Jones. So I was able to catch up with Denver in the locker room. Here's what he had to say. First Final Four, how are you feeling?
Man, awesome. I'm feeling great right now. Highly blessed, man. That's all I can really say.
Coming from JUCO, then FIU, to now the Final Four, did you ever think that you would ever make it to this moment?
Man, I had dreams that I'd make it to this moment, but I never thought that, you know what I'm saying, my dreams would come true like this. Man, it's just really a blessing, man. I love these guys. I love this team. Love the coaches, man. I'm just really proud of everyone that's here. You know what I'm saying? I witnessed all the hard work that we put in over the past 2 years, man, since I've been here. And Coach really prepared us this season, you know what I'm saying, for these big-time moments, and I'm really appreciative of these guys, man. I feel like we done came a long way.
You guys are up there at the entire game, kind of, but then Johni goes down. He comes back, but what was that message shown throughout the bench, throughout the entire team when he's out, knowing that you guys have to come together and step up as a team?
Man, we still got to keep our foot on their necks. We know him going out, he carried us most of the game today, so we know that, we had to keep the lead just for Johni, man. And then him going down, man, I was praying that he was coming back. Then him coming back, first play, hits a 3. You know what I'm saying? He for sure lifted weights off our shoulders, man. So I'm just really blessed that he's okay. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be good going into Final Four.
Next up, Final Four, SEC on SEC battle. You guys fell to Florida at home. What are you guys working on to get to that point in the season where you can come back and bounce back and beat Florida?
Man, honestly, just getting back to playing Auburn basketball, man. I feel like around that time, like we wasn't as locked in. After Dylan got onto us, you know what I'm saying, after our first round, I feel like that was much needed because that was basically a wake-up call. And we seen it ourselves, man. Like, Coach replayed some film that we played in Maui versus how we played late in our season this year. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's night and day difference. And we knew that if we get back to that, man, it's hardly any team that can really stop us.
Next up, San Antonio. What are you most looking forward to?
Winning. That's honestly, man. I want the whole championship. Like, that's the only reason why I came here, man, and that's the only job that I want to do.
Denver Jones most excited about is winning. Just honestly, a bar right there. Auburn does not win without Denver Jones' defense.
I agree, and Auburn was the only Elite Eight team to win their first 3 games by double digits. They don't do that with Denver Jones. I don't think they'd come out against Michigan State and win by 6 without Denver Jones. And I know he played 29 minutes in this game, which is crazy to say that's less than his usual, but fouls were a factor in this one. It forced Auburn to rely on different guys than they usually do. Denver and Miles both had 3 fouls with 16:58 remaining in the second half. Officials were calling ticky-tacky ones both ways. Auburn had some foul trouble just in general. Chaney Johnson had 4. Dylan had 3. Miles had 3. Denver had 3. So 4 big pieces to the Auburn offense you add in without Johni Broome playing for that little stretch. That's a pretty big deal. But the way that Denver, when he did come in, play smart, play tough, play physical, enough to get those guards like we talked about off their pace, off their game, I thought was huge. Denver Jones making an impact per usual. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we've seen from him. Rain, sleet, or snow, doesn't matter. Denver Jones is going to show, and he did all game yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. And you spoke of the officiating. That was the first time when I heard Bruce Pearl and Stephen Pearl just how frustrating they were getting. I mean, to have Denver and Miles have 3 fouls with over 16 minutes left in the second half, that is huge. Those are your 2 best 3-point shooters on the team. But luckily, Auburn had Johni Broome. Auburn didn't need 3-point shooting against Michigan State because Johni Broome was so dominant in the paint and was perfect from the 3-point line himself. So
yeah, no, that's always good. And we talked to Miles Kelly after the game, a guy that I thought in the first half really did help out. I know he had a couple of fouls early, like we mentioned, but I thought he was a guy sort of in the same boat as Chad Baker-Mazara, kind of trying to refine that offensive swag he has. Hasn't been able to sink the number of threes like he usually does, but was able to get it going from the mid-range. Here's Miles Kelly after the victory in the locker room last night. All right, we're here with Miles Kelly. Miles, Auburn is in the Sweet 16 for the first time, or in the Final Four, for the first time since 2019. What's going through your mind?
Man, a lot right now. I mean, I'm just trying to soak in the moment. This means a lot to me. This is the reason why I came to Auburn to do stuff like this. So for it to finally be happen, I mean, it's just I'm just so grateful and blessed to be in this moment.
That 18-year-old freshman that came onto campus at Georgia Tech, could he have pictured this?
Not even a little bit. I mean, the main thing of going to college is to make a deep run to March Madness and hopefully win national championship. So, like I said, this is the reason why I came to Auburn to do stuff like this, and to finally be able to make it to the Final Four and have a chance at winning national championship. It just means a lot to me.
And finding your pace is something you've done very well this year. Today it was through the mid-range, not the three-point shot, which is rare for you. Getting back in the flow, what are you looking forward to most in San Antonio?
Man, just to get back and refocus. Over this past games in Atlanta, I haven't had my best shooting days, and that's something I got to refocus. I got to be better at, which I'm not worried about because, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to make or miss shots, and I'm going to get back in the gym, and I work very hard at that. So, but other than that, you playing basketball, so you got to do other things that impact winning and rebounding and defending and making their guards take tough shots and make them have uncomfortable looks is something that we really focused on, and that's how we got the win.
Word on the street is San Antonio sending Rupp Arena's rims there. So just be ready for Miles Kelly to have a day.
I have no problem with that. Go ahead and do it.
Johni Broome tonight leaves that moment in the second half. Sort of what was the vibe on the bench? How did you guys feel in the game on the bench? Sort of what was the vibe when you saw him limp off the floor like he did?
I mean, the vibe was great. I mean, of course, we don't want to never see a brother go down. But Johni's a dog, so we weren't worried. I mean, this is as big as this game was, we knew he was coming back. So we weren't worried. It was just next man up mentality, and that's what we did, honestly. He went out, Chaney came in, and it was like we didn't skip a beat at all. We kept that same intensity, same defensive mindset, and he got the job done.
I took a page from your book and hit a three right when he came back. Pretty cool moment, huh?
For sure. That was a great moment. I mean, I'm pretty sure that did a lot for his confidence and going into San Antonio, so that was huge.
Awesome. What are you looking forward to most in the city of San Antonio?
Man, just to come out here with a national championship. I mean, that's the most thing I'm looking forward to. Being able to play with my brothers right here. I mean, this means a lot to me. Just we have 10 seniors on this team, and nobody's ever been to the Final Four the last weekend of March. So we're just gonna cherish this moment and get ready for Florida.
Miles Kelly is headed to the Final Four. Thanks, Miles. Now, while I was only kidding about the Rupp Arena rims coming to San Antonio, Auburn fans, don't worry, because yesterday the shooting outing in the first half wasn't too pretty for anybody. You look at the numbers, there was shooting struggles on both sides. Both teams shot 23% from three in the first half. Auburn had the edge in shooting overall. They shot 44% from the field compared to Michigan State's 27. So a pretty large difference in between those, but I don't think Miles Kelly's struggles from behind the arc are going to stay. They haven't all year. I don't think he's put together two games like this all year, so I think you're heating up the pot a little bit for a Miles Kelly heater. So Auburn fans, don't worry about Miles Kelly. He knows there's always the next game, and that's going to be the case when the Tigers travel to San Antonio, I think. I think he's going to catch the fire again and do Miles Kelly things.
Here's the thing. I'm not afraid to admit when I was wrong. I thought Miles Kelly home in Atlanta, he's going to shoot lights out. He's going to be on fire. That was not correct. But I realized why that wasn't incorrect. He told us he's a villain on the road. Atlanta's in his backyard. That's his home. That's not where he's meant to be his best shooting. So looking at San Antonio, like we said, we don't think the slump is going to last that long. Miles Kelly is the best three-point shooter on this team. So he's a villain on the road. It's the fact that his first time in the NCAA tournament is a team making it to the Final Four, and he's a huge part of that. He's going to be a huge piece of why Auburn can make it far if they go on and beat Florida and whoever is next.
Yeah, I think Miles Kelly's going to make a great NBA player as long as maybe he doesn't go to the Atlanta Hawks, because those rims, if you look at his games there, even Ohio State, when they played in Holiday Hoops Gaming in December, he was 3 for 8, 2 for 6 from 3, and then these last two in State Farm Arena. So maybe it's just like allergic to something.
He's a villain on the road. He doesn't like playing at home. That's okay.
Maybe he didn't like the pregame food they give out at the State Farm Arena, something like that. But next round in San Antonio, get this guy some churros, Tex-Mex, whatever you got to do to feed this man what he needs. Auburn better do it to get Miles Kelly back in the three-point arc, make him the machine that we've seen all year. Now, I mentioned machine. There's a young machine, a freshman from New Jersey, that has sort of taken this tournament by the hair and just drug it with him. And that's been Tahad Pettiford. Game after game, he's shown up. Offensively, we've seen it from him. What did you see from him yesterday?
Yeah, I think they need to change the pregame mirror for Miles Kelly. Please give Todd Pettiford that same exact thing. Just him scoring double figures in every single game in the South region, helping Auburn lead to take that title of South region, and he was named to the all-tournament team for the South Regional. I was able to catch up with him on how much that means to him and what he's excited for San Antonio. Auburn's first ever Final Four since 2019. What is going through your mind right now?
To be honest, just a bunch of emotions. I'm just happy for these guys. All the hard work we put in this year is finally paying off, but we're not done yet.
Double digits in all games in the South region, on the all-tournament team. How does that feel?
It feels great. Just shows the work I've been putting in is paying off. But obviously, I just want to be holding that national championship trophy up.
Tell me about the message that was sent throughout the team when Johni goes down. What was it up for you guys to come together and step up?
Everybody knew they needed to step up. Obviously, the game he was having today, he was a huge impact. So we just knew that when he went down, everybody needed to step it up a little bit more.
Next up, Florida. Walter Clayton Jr., one of the best players in college basketball. What is going through your mind after you guys fell to them at home this year and that's your next opponent?
Just going to get back in the gym, see what we did wrong last time against them, and just fix our mistakes.
Next up, San Antonio. Guy from New Jersey. Have you ever been to San Antonio?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times.
What are you most looking forward
to? Just the atmosphere of the Final Four and hopefully the championship game. I've been to a championship game and a Final Four game before, so just being able to play in it is going to be a blessing.
Thanks, Hod.
He made sure to tell me he had been to a Final Four, has been to a championship. So he's got that New Jersey championship mentality already, which I love. But just to have this guy, freshman, be on the all-tournament team. He's literally, you look at this box score, it's freshman with a bunch of old dudes, like Chris Moore said. So the way he was able to step up in the Michigan game where he shot lights out, in the Michigan State game where he just was able to step up. Johni Broome comes out, freshman. He's able to score some points with Johni out, and then he's able to help facilitate the ball too. So just overall, an incredible NCAA regional from Todd Pettiford.
Yeah, most definitely. And I know they're going to San Antonio. Maybe they watched a little Spurs tape before this because there was a play in the second half where, like we talked about on the break, everybody on the court touched the basketball. It was Chaney Johnson to Denver Jones to Chad Baker-Mazara, who found Tahad in the corner for a three. The extra pass, just a thing of beauty. Gotta love it. Tahad was just the guy who was able to finish it. And I thought even yesterday, I'm not that I haven't been this way all year, but his ability to drive the basketball and just that kind of extra, I don't even know what you would really call it. He just has an extra oomph. There's an extra piece, an extra pop to him when he drives the basketball that if I'm a defender, it scares me a little bit. If I'm an NBA combine guy, I'm loving every second of it. He just has an extra pop, a little extra elevation when he attacks the rim that is so scary. And I don't think many defenses realize it because they know how dangerous that step back is. They know how dangerous he is from three or the mid-range. But when he gets to the cup, I mean, the kid gets up. He's, 6'1" maybe. Guy is able to get up and really attack the rim with the best of them. So that was something that sort of stuck out to me yesterday when maybe his shots weren't falling from the perimeter. He was able to attack the basket and try to get to the cup.
Yeah, you mentioned his step back, driving to the basket, mid-range jumpers, but also I think his ability to find his teammates is so underrated. I remember there was one point where it was either Johni or Dylan where he somehow passes it to them, finds them, and Johni or Dylan get the dunk. And it was under the basket. And the way he's able to find these players, and I think I even remember back in the Alabama game, that one dunk like behind Dylan Cardwell, where Dylan Cardwell goes for the alley-oop. The way that Todd Pettiford is just so well-rounded. Everyone knows his step back is one of the best in the country as a freshman. And then his three-point shooting, his drive to the basket, and his ability to find his teammate for assists, he can do everything. So well-deserved that he was on the South Regional or tournament team.
Yeah, and the relationship with he and Johni Broome, that trust was obviously there when Johni goes out of the game. There was also moments where Johni'd get an and one, and they'd look at each other and give each other the flex. So those two I thought were on fire together yesterday. When Tahad was in the game, as was Johni, Johni was better because of it. And that relationship to me is growing, and it's so cool to see him on this stage producing at the level they have. Now that we've talked to literally everyone, let's just talk big picture here about our takeaways from the game. I know my first one has to do with Johni Broome, but it's not really an Auburn side of things. I mean, you look at a head coach like Tom Izzo, who is in his 9th, I think, Elite Eight, which is crazy if you think about the odds of that actually happening and making it to the Elite Eight 9 times. I wonder from his perspective how much he is going to regret, if that's the word for it, or look back on and wish maybe he did it earlier. He started doubling Johni Broome when there was 5 minutes and 26 seconds left in the first half. He waited 15 minutes to double Johni Broome. And in the first half, why in the world would you wait? Johni Broome was the first half for Auburn. Like we've mentioned, he had 17 points. He only missed 2 shots the entire half. What was the delay? I didn't understand that before they started throwing other guys at him, and that's when different players started to step up, because when you double Johni, that means somebody else is getting a basket. That's just the playmaker he is. But from a Michigan State perspective, I think, why were you down and not able to come back? Because you got down too early, because you didn't put enough pressure on the National Player of the Year. I think that's my take on Tom Izzo, maybe looking back at this game, and whether it's tomorrow, today, 10 years from now, I think that's going to be something that's probably sticks in his mind. Like, why did we not change that sooner?
And I think my takeaway is coming from that, you look at the Michigan game where it's Tahad, Johni, and Denver who shoot 20 points. And Johni and Bruce are at the podium, and they kind of joke around. Bruce is like, oh, you had another triple-double. You had a bad game. Look how many shots you missed. So looking at it from Tom Izzo's perspective, if you have guards like Denver Jones and Tahad shooting like that, and you look at, well, Johni Broome missed how many shots, I feel like that's kind of where he was, because he was worried about other guards. So my takeaway from this is looking at it as this was the game that we've been waiting on for Johni Broome in this tournament in general, just to have 25 points, 14 rebounds, and go 10 for 13 from the floor. Only missed 3 shots. That's the game that you want from Johni Broome. Michigan, that's the game that you want from Tahad and Denver. So we've been waiting for it to happen. If Johni Broome can have this type of performance going into these next 2 games, and Tahad and Denver, and then we can get Chad and Miles back, Auburn can win a national championship. But Auburn has to have all those pieces collectively come together in order to beat Florida, who they fell to earlier in the season at home.
And you know what's crazy? I think you don't even have to have 4 of those 5.
They've seen
them win with 3.
Yeah.
62 points in the last round combined between Denver, Tahad, and Johni to beat Michigan, and did so handily. So you get the majority. We'll call it the majority to step up, and that's what I think can win Auburn a basketball game. Now, you're going against a Florida team, like you said, they lost to earlier in the year, and it wasn't a very pretty or close game for the majority of that game. But that certainly is a takeaway, because they beat the number 2 ranked team in the South region, the 2 seed, who was 30-7 this year, by 6 points. And Denver Jones didn't score in the first half. Baker Mazzara didn't score in the first half. Todd Pettiford had 5 points in the first half. Chaney Johnson had 2 points in the first half. And they were up 23-8 through 5 minutes of gameplay. Like, that's... there's no way to explain how that works other than you have a guy like Johni Broome, and you have pieces like Miles Kelly and guys that can play make. So I think you get the majority to sort of commit and to focus in for 40 minutes of gameplay. You can win any game that you want. You've proven you can beat the best teams. Now you just got to go do it.
Yep. And I think coming into this Florida game, when Auburn lost at home, Florida did not have Elijah Martin. So that is going to be a huge piece, is something new that Auburn is preparing for, kind of this team where they didn't play this player yet, but just Auburn, Florida coming out of that Texas Tech game where down 10 with 5 minutes left, they come back. Walter Clayton Jr., one of the best players in college basketball, just one of the best players in crunch time. Auburn not having played Elijah Martin. There were just a bunch of key pieces where I know Todd mentioned they're going to watch that tape back and see, Florida and what they need to do differently. But not only that, just there are so many other key pieces that Florida has gotten 10 times better since that game, and Auburn lost that game. But I also think Auburn has gotten better since that game too. So there are just a bunch of key pieces that Auburn's going to need to watch that tape back, but then look at different key pieces that they didn't see beforehand.
Yeah, what scares me the most about Florida, if I'm an Auburn fan, an Auburn follower, a college basketball fan that uses BetMGM, I think what scares me about Florida is they're never out of it.
Yeah.
They're never out of a game. You've seen it. If you watch the UConn-Florida game, if you watch the Texas Tech-Florida game, they're down by between 7 and 12 points with 5 minutes to go. They come back and win both of those games. And Walter Clayton being the main reason why, but also Twin Towers in Alex Condon and Thomas Hall, 2 guys that have been tough all year. And then Elijah Martin, too, a very strong 2-guard that can give any 2 in the country problems. So Florida is similar to Auburn in that the holes are hard to find. But when you find them and you're playing your best, you can exploit them. That's what Auburn's done to this point. I would say maybe outside of Alabama State, because that was kind of a teetery, weird game.
Yeah.
The other ones, that's what they've done. The first half has been close. They found the holes. Second half adjustment, bam. That's how they win the basketball game. I think the same has been true with Florida. Have they not taken the entire second half to do so? Have they taken the last 5 minutes, 2 minutes to do so? Yes. Can they prove they can win close games when they're not close? Can they win games in the second half even when they're at odds? Yes, they can. And if you're looking at the 4 teams left, I think they're the team that can do that the best, come back in those last couple of minutes. So no Auburn fans that no lead is safe. If you're up by 10 with 5 minutes left, you better make your free throws. You better do what you have to do, get rebounds, eat clock, and score points, or Florida has the chance to come back and beat you in the last couple of minutes.
I agree, and I'm happy that Auburn, when they played Michigan, Michigan to me is a great team, does not compare to the caliber of Florida, but the fact that Auburn was down 9 in the second half and was able to outscore Michigan, 37-19 or 39-17. It's one of those two. Crazy number. The fact that they were able to do that in the tournament in an environment like that, I'm glad that they had that preparation and able to come out on top, because if that happens, it's going to be much tougher to do that against Florida.
Yeah, and one thing I guess I'm happy about too is that Johni Broome looks like he's going to be all right.
Yeah,
as simple as that is, like, you can't really overlook that. I know Johni said it was a scary moment. I went down, but my teammates had my back. Bruce just said something as simple as, I bet he'll be sore tomorrow. But when you garner the appreciation of the opposing coach in a moment like Johni had, Tom Izzo said that's why he's an All-American. That's why he's a Player of the Year candidate. Did a hell of a job. We did most of the things we wanted to except guard Broome a little better, which we've alluded to, I think, this entire episode. If Florida can't stop Broome, Florida can't stop Auburn. And I think if you want to win the game, I've stressed this all year, get the ball to Johni Broome early. Look at what the first 5 minutes were against Michigan State. Johni Broome had the first 6 points of the game. One was a back down, one was a fadeaway from the middle of the paint, and one was a face up. He scored 3 different ways, 3 straight times. So if Florida, I think, has trouble early with Johni, that lead will break open. Other guys will start stepping up. Hopefully Florida doesn't have to wait 15 minutes to try to double the guy, or it's going to be trouble. But that's what I think. I mean, I think you have to say, wow, we're grateful that Johni's back, because by the look of it, nasty.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a scary moment. But just this game proved who Johni Broome is, what he is capable of. Now, we've said it all the time. You can have slumps, you can have great games. There's 2 games left in this season. It's the last 2 games, definitely could be last 1 game with Johni Broome, Dylan Cardwell, Miles Kelly, all of these guys in an Auburn uniform. So there's no more slumps. There's no more okaying these slumps. This is prove what you are made of. It's now or never.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about the slumps and the runs. That'll be another big piece. I know basketball is a game of those. Auburn had plenty of runs where they were 5 minutes scoring, and Michigan State didn't score for 5:40, 5:04. But Auburn has little ones, and they cost them. They're up 23-8 against Michigan State. Guards come out, the subs come in, Tahad, Chaney, those guys come in. Michigan State's guards get downhill. Lead gets cut to 5. If you're playing a team like Florida, that lead won't be 5. It will be Florida leads by 3.
Yep.
That's what kind of level we're talking about here with Florida. You got to remember, Todd Golden was a guy that used to be on Bruce Pearl's staff. He knows what the deal is with Coach Pearl. He knows Stephen Pearl. They're in group chats, probably texting a bunch this week. Those guys talk every day. They're close friends, but on the court they're going to be enemies. But they're going to try to spoil each other's seasons. And as simple as that is, the lapses have to be less, I think. There was moments in this game. Auburn hadn't scored for 2:30. Auburn hadn't scored for 2 minutes. And Michigan State, little quick runs. They get on the break and they score. I hate to break it to you, Florida's one of the fastest teams when they want to be, with Elijah Martin and Walter Clayton Jr. and their guards getting out on the breaks. Their bigs can run too. Athletic, strong, can get to the basket, can shoot the ball. That's half the reason they came back against Texas Tech, was because Thomas was able to make threes, and guys were able to step up in those positions. But I think the lapses, it's the Final Four. Like, the clock is literally ticking. You have to focus every minute you're on the game, and when you don't, that's when you get beat. So I think the focus this week in practice for Auburn has to be every moment your sneakers are on the floor, you have to be focused and dialed in.
And I think looking back at this Michigan State game, in the first half, Michigan State made 3 threes. Mm-hmm. You look at the end of this game, Michigan State made 7. That is because at the end of the game, Auburn let Michigan State make threes in the final few minutes. Auburn's largest lead was 15 Auburn only won by 6. That is because at the end of the game, Michigan State made like back-to-back threes in multiple possessions. You cannot let that happen against Florida.
And Auburn missed free throws too.
Yeah. If Auburn lets that happen against Florida, you're flat out losing the game if you let them come within that close and let them shoot threes in the last few minutes, let them get a timeout, let them make another three. That cannot happen.
No, it can. And Auburn needs to limit runs from Florida too. That's an offense that they can get hot and quick. So be aware. They got to be firefighters in this game, ready to put out the Florida Heat. And they got to be ready to do that. I also just want to acknowledge the fact that we mentioned it, 4 1 seeds in the Final Four. First time they've all reached the Final Four since 2008, which was the only previous year of all number 1 seeds, all 1-seeded semifinalists since seeding began in 1979. And the higher seeded teams went 12-0 in regional semifinals and finals for the first time since the tournament expanded in 1985. So I know Tom Izzo talked about it a little bit, but I never thought I'd say this in a year where there's been no Cinderella games, but the committee did a good job of picking their 1 seeds. It sounds silly to say because it's so chalk, like it's so basic. The people who don't know anything about basketball are like, I got the perfect Final Four. It's because you picked all the 1 seeds. Regardless, they should get the criticism, right? I mean, the 4 best teams from their prediction are the 4 best teams that are still remaining. So shout out to the selection committee for making it happen.
And I know a lot of people are like, oh, March, I've seen this, which I don't agree with whatsoever. Yes, Cinderella games are great. They're great for the first 2 rounds.
Come on.
Then you come to the Final Four. You want the best players against the best teams. To have Auburn and Florida duke it out after Florida already beat Auburn. To have Duke and Houston duke it out. Well, Duke is duking it out, whatever.
Good call. Good call.
Houston, one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the Final Four. Duke having National Player of the Year candidate Cooper Flagg, having National Player of the Year candidate Johni Broome, just having all of these games. Like, these games are going to be, I think they're going to be incredible. I think they're going to be close games. I would be very shocked if either of these games ends with the team overcoming them in double figures, just because Duke's offense against Houston's defense, and then looking at this SEC on SEC battle, I think it's going to be a great day of basketball. I am so excited because, like I said, Cinderella games are great in the first and second round. When a 16 beats a 1 seed, that's great for one thing. Then the 16 gets mollywopped by an 8 or a 7 seed. That's not fun. You want to see the best players against the best defense, the best offensive players against the best defense. It's going to be awesome. That's my personal opinion, but I'm excited for that we get to see, like Simo said, battling out to see who, they're all the top dogs, but to see who is the top dog is the true question.
Yeah, and I want to know when the last time the Final Four teams had all been played by one team. Auburn's played every team in this thing. They've played Florida and they lost. They beat Houston in Houston, not at Houston, in Houston, and they lost to Duke by a couple early in the season at Cameron Indoor. So the record doesn't look great against the 4 teams left, but a lot has happened since these teams have played. For all of these teams, I think Houston's gotten a lot better since then. I think Duke has also gotten a lot better, figured themselves out a little more. Auburn in that Duke game, I think, didn't play their best. It was December 4th. Yeah. So that was months ago. A lot has changed.
Same thing, though, when Auburn played Houston. Yes, they beat them. That was, the second game of the season?
Yeah,
so
and people
Houston
were fighting each other on the plane. You got to forget, this is where this whole thing started.
True.
People duking it out on the
Imagine
plane.
Imagine full circle, Auburn versus
goodness.
Houston at championship game after the horseplay. Wild.
And I think, too, I want to know this for Auburn fans, because I think we get this a lot, is let's not look past the first game, Auburn fans. Like, you're in the Final Four. That's great. It's the second time the program has ever done it. But the Final Four isn't the goal. And Bruce said that yesterday. Todd joked, too. I'll see y'all in class. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. They have to actually act like that. Auburn fans at Toomer's Corner, loving the fact that they're in the Final Four. I'm all for celebration. I love the smiles. I love the winning. I love that aspect of it. And college basketball taking its way to Toomer's Corner is like cinematic as ever can be. The story couldn't have been written any better. But they have to everybody watching Auburn and cheering for Auburn has to realize that Final Four isn't just a goal anymore. I know
they did that.
They've done it. It's happened before. There's a new standard that they're chasing. And Florida's next up. You can't automatically look to the national championship game. You can't look past this Florida team. They haven't beaten them yet, as simple as that is. So Auburn fans, lock in on the Final Four game. You're not in the championship yet. Auburn hasn't won anything in this tournament yet. in their standards. They haven't won the championship game yet, so don't get too far ahead of yourselves and start looking like this is the team that's done it. They haven't done anything new yet.
And I'm honestly not worried about this team kind of celebrating.
I'm not worried about the team. I'm worried about the atmosphere around the team is more what I'm thinking.
Auburn family, you showed up in Atlanta.
Oh, my goodness,
We're still
yes.
down south in Texas. So the Auburn family, if you can show up like you did in Atlanta, show up in Texas, because that was a major factor of how Auburn got this far to the Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't have been the same games in Atlanta if Atlanta wasn't in Atlanta. If Atlanta was in California, totally different games.
Totally different ballgame.
So Auburn family, I'm not saying don't show out. I'm just saying don't get ahead of yourselves. All right, don't tie your shoes together and try to start walking here. Can't do that.
The Final Four merch is cool, but don't you want like a national championship merch? Like, that's what I'm thinking.
Come on, see, bling with the T is nice. Bling on the ring is even better. So I think Auburn, the players, the coaching staff, they know where the expectation is and they know where their thought process lies now, with a handful of days to prepare for Todd Golden and the Florida Gators. But this one, 70-64 win over Tom Izzo and Michigan State to advance to the Final Four for the second time in program history. I think now we can take it to everybody's favorite segment of this show. Let's hit them with the toasts. JoJo, I'll let you go first. Who we got?
I feel like this one is basic, but we haven't mentioned it in the podcast yet, so I'm just going to do it. I'm toasting to Bruce Pearl. Brought Auburn to its first Final Four in 2019. Charles Barkley said he never thought that was possible in his wildest dreams. Bruce Pearl has done it for a second time, bringing Auburn to its second Final Four in program history. Both of those have been under Bruce Pearl. We've said it all throughout the season, but I'm just reiterating the fact that he has just transformed Auburn basketball. He is Auburn basketball. This entire program, the way his relationship with this team. And one of my favorite things was we're on the court after Auburn clinches the South Regional, advances to the Final Four, and all you hear is Bruce Pearl yelling, "Isn't God amazing? Look what God did." That was awesome to me, so I'm toasting to Bruce Pearl.
I love it. And I even thought Bruce, the comedy's always there. He loves his players, and he loves joking with them, too. And in the press conference, the nameplates on the press conference.
This was so funny.
It's a big thing. Everybody likes to take theirs, because who doesn't want your name next to the March Madness logo in the most official way? Well, Tahad, Denver, and Johni, or not Denver, Tahad,
Johni and Cheney.
Cheney and Johni leaving the press conference. Tahad picks up their nameplates, and Bruce says, "Take your tags, come on." And he's talking to Tahad, and he says, "They spelled your name wrong." And Tahad takes his nameplate, and he looks at it, and Bruce goes, "Ha, got you to look." Just like the kid aspect of that is so funny. Got him to look, and Bruce bust out laughing after it. But that guy is loving life right now. He knows the job is not finished, as does most of this team. I'm going to give my shout out to I'm going to go two here. First of all, I'm going to go, it's not a person, it's not a thing, it's a place. Toomer's Corner last night. There was crowd surfing. There was Winter Wonderland with toilet paper. I don't know if you saw that one. They just saw a drone hanging in the air, and somebody chucked the toilet paper, and down came both of them. This place was absolutely bonk yesterday after the game, and it was for hours. The team got back at, 11:30 at night.
That same crowd came right back.
Mind you, the game was at 5. The entire crowd at Toomer's Corner was like mob deep, so much so that we were going to try to go and get content with these guys. No shot.
No way
There was no way we were going to get it even in the mix up there, because Toomer's Corner was absolutely mobbed. Second one, Bruce Pearl shouted him out on Twitter.
Well deserved.
I think it's extremely well deserved. Look at the job that Mike Burgomaster has done this year as the strategist behind this Auburn basketball team. Every game they've come prepared, and every game after a first half where they've seen what the other team is doing, the adjustments have been made, and Auburn's been able to win the game. So an underrated piece, one of the best offensive coordinators in the game of basketball. Final Four Berg heading there for the second time. Shout out to Mike Burgomaster for holding down all the X's and O's for this Auburn team and helping them put themselves in winning situations. God, Burgo, we love it.
He is incredible. He is so underrated. This program, Bruce Pearl has transformed, but right alongside him almost the entire time is Mike Burgomaster. The way I know Bruce Pearl's constantly spoke about when they put Dylan Cardwell and Johni Broome on the floor together at first, it was atrocious. They said it was horrible. It was not working. And look at where it's now. That starting lineup has led Auburn to a Final Four.
Yeah, a lot has changed. And hopefully we can change some more records and expand that trophy case like Chaney Johnson had told us as well. You got anything else for this Elite Eight Final Four berth episode of Straight Out the Jungle?
We're going to Texas,
Ah!
so woo! If you are there, make sure to say hi. We are so excited that we get to go and watch these games and be with the team and just hopefully see Auburn win its first national championship.
Come on, got to win the Final Four first. And I do want to say, quick update. Auburn coach Bruce Pearl gives Field of 68 an update on Johni Broome, who suffered a hyperextended elbow during yesterday's win. Bruce said, quote, "He's sore. We didn't practice today and we'll practice tomorrow, but Johni won't practice. He's sore, but I fully expect him to play on Saturday." Auburn faithful, that's the note I think I'm going to leave you on in this one. If you're from Texas, shout out. If you're not, Big X, he loves Texas, and so do we. So we'll see you there. We're going to get there Thursday night. We'll be around Friday, Saturday, all the way through the championship game. So if you see us, make sure to holler. But the Field of 68 is the spot for college basketball and especially the Final Four. So stay tuned. Keep rocking with us, and we're going to have more from San Antonio just later this week.
We're so excited for this episode of Straight Out the Jungle. My name is JoJo Cavanagh.
My name is Vince Wolfram. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us with using the description below. The links are in there, so follow us, tag along, and stick with us through all of it. We'll see you guys next time. War Eagle.
See you in Texas. War Eagle.